This video is for the individual that's trying to be effective with their retirement strategies if they're offered a pension plan through their employer and then they're going to be receiving Social Security income throughout their retirement years. So ultimately, how to make sure that you're leveraging these two components successfully so that you could use the smallest dollars and only as much as necessary to accomplish whatever you may be lacking from an expense standpoint in retirement. So the first step is to always be organized, to understand where you are right now, and then understand where your point B is, where your ideal retirement date is. And that could, essentially change from a couple of years. Some people are essentially just done with it after, they hit age 60 or 62, even though they planned on maybe retiring at age 67 or 65. So, do you have to make some slight tweaks along the way? But ultimately, from a 30,000 foot view perspective, what is your current point A? What is your point B? What is your ideal point B? Meaning, when do you want to retire? And then how to make sure that you're successfully planning from point B until DOD, date of death, making sure that you could create a successful path on all of these different trajectories. If you do it the correct way, and let's say that you have a pension income stream, you have a Social Security income stream, and that is enough to accomplish what your expenses are throughout retirement, then that allows you to leave as much leftover monies aside as a type of splurge account, as a type of, fun vacation account, or kind of do the things, whatever you dreamt of throughout your retirement, throughout that retirement lifestyle. So that might be accounts such as an employer-sponsored plan like a 401k, a 403b, a TSP, more of an individual plan like a traditional IRA, Roth IRA, brokerage accounts, savings accounts, checking account, whatever that is, how to make sure that you don't have to touch those monies or use those monies for that sort of cash flow, that sort of income related need if it's not necessary to do so. So really the first step is taking an inventory. But you're going to notice this little illustration of three legs on a stool. And this is when somebody's offered a pension plan, they ultimately have access to this three-legged stool type concept. And what that refers to is you could receive income from pension, you could receive income from Social Security income, and then you could also receive income from whatever your assets are. So by taking an inventory off of what your ancillary accounts are, what all those excess accounts are, try to itemize those and try to say, okay, well, I have a 401k account. This is sitting at roughly 200,000, and I have a traditional IRA account, and that's sitting at roughly 50,000, and then I have a Roth IRA account because I leveraged some conversions. That's sitting at 300,000, and I have a checking savings account that's sitting as a rainy day fund for another 50,000. So what exactly is the composition of all of these accounts, and then making sure that you're categorizing them as per their appropriate tax qualification. So like a pre-tax 401k or pre-tax traditional IRA, these are going to be fully taxable throughout retirement, and that taxation can affect how much income taxation you have from your Social Security income. So, that might make more sense as you're doing your working career to go consolidate these monies and roll them over into Roth conversions so that sort of calculation does not affect the Social Security income taxation. If let's say that you're trying to make sure that you're maxing out what your pension income stream is, well, if you're pulling a lot of monies from pension income, which will be fully taxable, and then you're also taking monies from taxable related accounts because you didn't take those earlier steps, well, now that could also jolt you into a higher tax bracket when you thought you might have been in a lower tax bracket throughout retirement, and then that could have a snowball effect onto the Social Security income taxation. So it's all about netting the most amount of money and making sure that whatever you're netting is going to be greater than or equal to what your expenses are. And really, the crux of everything comes down to cash flow. Because when you're no longer working and now you're at your retirement stage, now you have to rely on what are the cash flow, what are the income streams that are coming to you. Therefore, you can't be leveraging an occupation that no longer exists to complete what your expenses are, every month, every year from that point B until that date of death. So the first step is trying to create some sort of budgeting analysis and understanding at your point A, what are your current expenses, and then at point B, your ideal retirement date, what are those expenses going to be? So maybe let's say if you're age 50 right now and then you want to retire at ideally age 65, well, you may have a mortgage, but that mortgage might be paid off by age 60. So therefore, the mortgage expense that you're experiencing at point A, this in-between stage from point A to point B, or from point A to age 60, that's going to drop off at age 60, and then therefore it will reduce the amount of expenses at that age 65 marker. Maybe you have children that are still in the house that that they're going to be moved out, they're going to be in college, they're going to be starting a family of their own, and that's going to happen before you hit your ideal age 65. So maybe that extra expense is going to go down, or maybe you want to downsize at this point. So this is where we try to help individuals out. We try to help them paint their picture of their ideal retirement lifestyle, and then use the math behind it and say, okay, well, we already have an illustration off of what you ideally want to do from this point B until this date of death marker. But then, how to make sure that you're creating the math behind it. That, is that you want to maybe downsize to a condo in a nice area down south, and then also have a condo closer to your family members, maybe if you live up north, or on the West Coast, whatever that case is. How do you want to make sure that you're splicing out those pieces of the pie so that you could really, have that retirement lifestyle that you've always dreamed of, but making sure that you're not overextending yourself. You're not spending too much money to create that visualization where it's not going to be attainable. So this is where the budgeting analysis, this is really key for everything. And we have different budgeting sheets that we help individuals out at any point in time. Feel free to call our 1-800 number. It's 1-800-566-1002 and ask to speak to a specialist, and just reference this video so we could obviously help create what that budgeting situation might be, and really help you create a clear picture from now until that retirement date, then from retirement date going forward. Once we understand what these expenses are, well, then we have to look back at the inventory. What is your income going to be at retirement? And then, what is that comprised of? So we know that when somebody is offered a pension plan, that could be set up as an income stream, and then also Social Security could be set up as an income stream. If we're fixating on the pension to begin with, you've had it more common with today's times is that you'll have the company, whether that's a private institution, that will go and say, okay, you were going to be receiving, let's say, $50,000 per year of lifetime income for you and your spouse, or just for a single individual. We could either give you this $50,000 per year starting at age 65, or if you take the money right now, we could give you a lump sum option of $1 million that you could go and basically leverage that into an IRA account and invest it on your own. So when somebody comes to this conclusion, which one is going to be a more effective route? And it really just depends on what they're trying to do. Because let's say, in just a really quick example, they're offered $1 million of a lump sum, and let's say they're only age 62 at this point, and they know that they're going to be retiring at age 65. Well, with the combination between the pension income of 50,000 and the Social Security income of, let's say, 30,000, if let's say that their expenses are only 70,000, well, they know at age 65 the cash flows between these two are going to be obviously greater than what their expenses are going to be at that point in time. Also, is there a way that you could leverage this $1 million buyout, or whatever that number is? You could go place it into a type of personal pension, like in the form of an annuity, like an IRA annuity, that will maybe out of the $1 million, it's only going to cost you $600,000 to give you $50,000 of income. And now you have $400,000 as an excess account that you never had to leverage, because the annuity is taking care of that cash flow that you needed, that the same thing that the pension was going to take care of. So basically, in this example, it might make more sense to take the lump sum, place a portion of that into an IRA, like an IRA annuity, and then have the excess monies placed over into an IRA that's set up with investments, set up with money market accounts, set up with safe accumulation accounts, whatever that case might be. So it really depends on a situation. I've seen it with both walks of life, where you might see that the income stream is so high that it doesn't make sense to take the lump sum, and then I've seen other scenarios where the lump sum is so high and it makes more mathematical sense to take the monies and then have a customized IRA account that will still be producing that cash flow, but now allowing this person to have all this extra money, at their fingertips. So that at least helps explain how the pension maximization strategies work. Now, how does it work regarding Social Security income maximization strategies? Well, we understand the generic concepts of Social Security income is you place monies aside as you are working, and then the government is going to start paying. If, let's say, you want to retire, ideally at age 62, you can start collecting Social Security as early as age 62, and then also as late as age 70. So if you trigger income at age 62, it's going to be less monthly income than if you wait until age 70. But be mindful that every year that you wait is going to make you 1 year closer to death. So the government obviously knows that. It really depends on what somebody wants to have with their ideal retirement situation. So I've seen it where some individuals, it makes perfect sense to trigger their Social Security income at age 62. Others, it makes sense to wait until FRA, full retirement age, at let's say age 66 and 2/3 or age 67, and then other times to trigger Social Security income at age 70. So just understand that the longer that you wait, the higher your monthly income will be. But if, let's say, for the poor guy that you know, they retired, they start collecting Social Security income at age 70, all of a sudden he comes down with an ailment and dies at age 72, that obviously was a shitty situation as opposed to him, triggering income at age 62 and then, passing away at age 72. Obviously, we don't know when we're going to die. We don't have that, that date stamped on our head and us, knowing that. So this is why we have to make sure that we're planning out accordingly and planning that you're going to be living into your 90s, living into your age 100 so that you're not falling short off of what your expenses are, that those expenses are going to exceed what your cash flow income streams are. So that's a generic concept of how Social Security income works. Now, to take a step further with that is to understand how the taxation works with Social Security income. This is where you have something known as provisional income. So Social Security income can be taxed or it can be tax-free to the individual. It is based on how much income that you're collecting from your pension income streams, from different investments and interest on investments, from taxable accounts such as pre-tax 401k accounts or IRA accounts. One of the things that during current tax law that's not included with this provisional income is Roth IRAs. So if, let's say, you're looking at that scenario where somebody's offered, they could either receive income from pension or receive a lump sum option through their pension. Well, we know that that lump sum option may be qualified monies, maybe pre-tax qualified monies, if they go and they place that into traditional IRA. Well, does it make sense to take a portion of this traditional IRA, make sure that they're setting up Roth conversions into this account so that when it comes time to retire, these monies that they took in the form of a lump sum are now sitting in Roth IRA accounts, and now those could be structured for a type of cash flow that would be coming to you tax-free that does not affect the amount of net income that you'd be receiving from Social Security income. So it's a little bit of a more advanced technique, but it's something to definitely be mindful of, because this could be the difference of you being taxed or having to give thousands of dollars of taxation, which could compute to millions of dollars of taxation from your Social Security and then also from your pension income taxation throughout your retirement lifestyle, or throughout your retirement years. So that's something that we do to help you really go to the drawing board and say, okay, are you maximizing out your pension options, successfully or effectively? Are you doing that from a Social Security income standpoint? Can you do that? Do you have the means to make sure that you're setting up those conversions, based on your time horizon, based on what your current income is, and all those different aspects, to make sure that it's going to put you in a better situation when you do hit that point B until your date of death. Now, the ultimate 30,000 foot view of what we want to see with everything is, once again, making sure that you're using the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary to accomplish your retirement goal. So if we have a situation where somebody has, let's say, 401k monies sitting at 300,000, they have traditional IRA monies sitting at 200,000, and let's say they have Roth IRA monies sitting at another 200,000. So in this example, this person has 700,000 total of aggregated assets. They are offered a pension income stream and they are offered Social Security income stream. The first step is to make sure that their cash flow will be greater than or equal to what their expenses are. So after doing their budgeting analysis, if, let's say, that their expenses come out to right around $70,000 throughout retirement, and we know that pension income stream maybe will be 30,000, Social Security income will be 30,000. This is telling us that we have a gap of $10,000 that we need to accomplish? What is the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary from these ancillary accounts that we could make sure to set up their income needs successfully? Whatever the smallest dollars and only as much as necessary is, maybe out of the 700,000, it's only going to cost 150,000 to be structured in a proper IRA. If that 150,000 is used up of the 700,000 total, well, now that tells us that you have 550,000 remaining for their ancillary accounts. Maybe 50 grand could go towards an emergency need, towards just leaving in liquid cash, and the other 500,000 could be set up in a proper growth strategy. How do you make sure that you're setting up your proper growth strategy? And this really is dependent upon what the person's risk tolerance is, whether they're risk averse or whether they're risk tolerant towards certain downward market shifts within the market. They want to leverage investments. And they really want to accumulate their dollars and making sure that they have all these excess splurge account monies that they could utilize to pay for a trip, to go on vacation, to pay for, let's say if they want to do a golf membership and golf, 5 days a week, whatever that case is. How do you make sure that you have as much leftover monies as possible? And that's something that we try to help out by structuring this thing out of saying, okay, your income first, then your emergency, and then lastly, your growth/inflationary, protection needs as those three main things. What we use is not a portfolio, not just saying, okay, take all your money, place it into a jack of all trades type product or type portfolio. What we do is we have a plan. We have a trademark process known as the retirement diet plan, where we dissect all of these little incremental data points to make sure that you have the proper distribution, you have the proper investment related strategy, you have the proper estate planning strategy, and you have the proper tax planning strategy to make sure that all these things encompass one another to give you that overall best mathematical route throughout retirement. So once again, to make sure that you have as much money left over, as much money as, excuse my language, your fuck around account, your fun account, so that you could have that peace of mind that you have your safety nets covered from your income standpoint. You're effectively leveraging your pension options, you're effectively leveraging your Social Security income options, and now you have actual strategies for your emergency and for your growth related need. And what you see over here is the REEF method, something that we coined the term the REEF, making sure that we're seeing what your risk tolerance is, seeing what your current situation is, what your current eggs in your basket are, what are, really examine what those situations are, and then make sure that we're stripping away any fees, any costs within that plan, and making sure that we're putting you on the correct trajectory for this growth related strategy. And this is something known as the retirement diet plan. Be mindful that we do have minimum requirements for the retirement diet plan, so definitely feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. References video access, speak to a specialist, and we'll try to make sure to help you out best way possible. But it really just comes down to how things used to be regarding retirement and retirement planning. What's changed and why is it important to make sure that you're setting up a plan now? So in the past, an individual was able to leverage high interest rate environment and fixed related accounts, such as a bank CD, such as a fixed annuity, where they'll just be able to say, okay, I have, $1 million that's sitting here in assets. I need $100,000 of income to live off of for the rest of my life. I could go up the street, go to my local bank, make sure that I'm setting up a proper laddering strategy and get a 10% interest rate from these different bank CDs, or go to an insurance company, get over a 10% interest rate from a fixed annuity, make sure that my principal is preserved, protected. Every 5 for some odd years, you would just basically, you collect the interest every year. So 10% of 100,000 is 100 grand. That will accomplish what your expense need is. Then after those 5 years are done, you would take the principal and then reinvest it into a new fixed product. Take the principal, reinvest it into a new fixed product. So you get 10%, 12%, 14% rates of return. Everything was astronomical from an actual safety standpoint. Well, what's changed is now you have those same accounts are now, if you're lucky, only paying 1%. So you can't use that same $1 million account, get a $100,000 cash flow, and then your principal, that what used to produce $100,000 of a cash flow is now only producing $10,000 of that same cash flow. So, if somebody's expenses are obviously significantly higher than that, well, then that sort of strategy is no longer going to work. Things used to be very simple. Now things have changed. So this is where you have to think outside the box. You really have to make sure that you're creating an effective tax income related strategy. make sure that you're setting up proper cash flow related strategies by leveraging components such as an annuity for income, such as dividend paying stocks for income, such as maybe leveraging bond portfolios for that type of income. So there's different things that someone could utilize that's a lot different than how their father, their mother, their grandparents used to do it when things were really just rainbows and butterflies and very simple to set up. Also, whenever somebody tries to leverage investments, this is where they could have restrictions on the amount of cash flow, and could force them to run out of money. So this is why you want to make sure that you're actually creating a strategy. You actually have a plan in place, not just setting up a portfolio of just set it and forget it. I've accumulated my monies this way, so therefore I'm going to take distribution strategies and create a distribution plan this way. It doesn't work that way anymore. And this is where you have a lot of publications that have came out. They've said the 4% rule is dead. Also, if someone's trying to maximize their cash flow, 4% could be very minimal for somebody. So why not, try to maximize that cash flow, get 6, 7, 8% cash flow off of those dollars, and once again, make sure that they're using the smallest amount of dollars, only as much as necessary for this plan. Why now is because of really the landscape has changed. Individuals can't take on that amount of risk. You have times that are more volatile than ever. You have products that are changing. You have individuals that are living longer lives. So even if you are leveraging like an annuity as a type of cash flow, as a type of safety net income strategy, those annuity plans constantly change. So something that might have been the best option just a few months ago can be 12th place, 13th place now. You might have cash flow components that if you're placing monies in there and you're collecting 7% of income from that sort of account, well, in the next couple of years, that same sort of strategy could only produce now 6% cash flow, 6% of a strategy. So it's very important to make sure that you're taking advantage of today's times. You're getting grandfathered into those plans so that at the end of the day, you're not throwing monies towards unnecessary areas. Why would you want to go and place your monies towards insurance companies, towards banks, towards investment institutions if you don't need to, if you could leave those monies in your pocket at the end of the day, at the end of the year? So I hope that everything made sense. Once again, if you found value in this video, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave a comment, leave a like button, let me know your thoughts on this. And you could also call the 1-800 number. It's 1-800-566-1002. Reference this video, and we'll be sure to have one of the assistants will set you up with a specialist that could handle your situation the best way possible based on what your area is and based on your income needs and really your pension, social security situation. But I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and please be on the lookout for our most recent videos. I'm going to try to put up a few every single week to make sure that you guys are getting the best educational content out there. Thank you so much.